when scientists began noticing that grey whales were entering the bay, not passing through, but lingering, foraging, searching for food in waters that they had previously no cause to be within. But this would prove not only to be an uncharacteristic journey for these grey whales, it would also prove to be a fatal one. Because yes, these whales were now turning up in numbers, but their return journey was never made. Hello and welcome to the Ocean News Podcast, an audio series in which we take a deeper dive into the biggest headlines and the breaking news stories from the oceanographic newsroom. I'm Rob Hutchins, and today we're heading to the west coast of the United States, to one of America's most iconic stretches of water, and the scene of a crisis that is quietly unfolding in plain sight. San Francisco Bay, home to one of the world's busiest shipping corridors, a narrow golden gateway through which ferries, container ships and recreational vessels pass every single day. And now, increasingly, it's becoming a channel for grey whales too. But it is this combination, and as a new study makes chillingly clear this week, that is proving fatal. Grey whales are extraordinary animals. Every year they make one of the longest migrations of any mammal on Earth, travelling thousands of miles between their Arctic feeding grounds in the north and the warm, sheltered lagoons of Baja California in the south. It's a journey shaped by millions of years of evolution. And for millions of years, San Francisco Bay played no part in it whatsoever. But that all started to change in 2018. When scientists began noticing that grey whales were entering the bay, not passing through, but lingering, foraging, searching for food in waters that they had previously no cause to be within. But this would prove not only to be an uncharacteristic journey for these grey whales, it would also prove to be a fatal one. Because yes, these whales were now turning up in numbers, but their return journey was never made. A new study published in the journal Frontiers in Marine Science has now pieced together the most detailed picture yet of what researchers are calling the Bay Greys. Led by scientists at the Marine Mammal Center and the California Academy of Sciences, the study draws on 7 years of survey data, citizen science photographs, and necropsy records spanning 2018 to 2025. And what they found is deeply concerning. In that period, 114 individual grey whales were identified entering San Francisco Bay. Of those, just 4 were seen returning in more than 1 year, and 21 were found dead in the surrounding area, giving a minimum mortality rate of 18%. That's nearly 1 in 5. But what was going on here? Why have grey whale deaths hit such a heartbreakingly high number? To understand that, you have to understand the geography. Every whale that enters San Francisco Bay must pass through the Golden Gate Strait, the same narrow bottleneck through which all of that maritime traffic flows. Ferries, container ships, recreational boats, and grey whales surfacing with a characteristically low profile that makes them extraordinarily difficult to spot, especially in the fog that is so frequently rolling in off the Pacific. Lead author Josephine Slarthaug of Sonoma State University put it plainly when she said, "Grey whales have a low profile to the water when they surface, and this makes them difficult to see in conditions like fog, which are common to San Francisco Bay. Additionally, San Francisco Bay is a highly trafficked waterway, and the Golden Gate Strait serves as a bottleneck through which all traffic and whales must enter and exit." Of the 70 grey whales found dead in the local area over that 7-year period, 30 showed injuries consistent with vessel strike. But vessel strikes may be only a part of the story, because many of the others died of malnutrition, and the two causes, researchers suggest, may be more connected than they first appear. A starving whale is, after all, a slower whale, and a slower whale is one less capable of detecting and avoiding an oncoming hull. So why are grey whales here at all? The answer, as with so many ocean stories right now, leads back to climate change. Grey whales are heavily dependent on prey in their Arctic feeding grounds. As warming reshapes those ecosystems, that prey is becoming harder to find. The consequences have been stark. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the grey whale population has dropped by more than 50% since 2016. Very few calves are being spotted. Emaciated animals have been recorded foraging in habitats that they would never ordinarily use. San Francisco Bay, it seems, has become an emergency pit stop, a last resort for animals pushed to the very edge of their physiological limits. The study's co-author, Becca Lane, at the Center for Coastal Studies, said, "At least 18% of the individuals identified in San Francisco Bay later died in the area. Our broader analysis of local strandings both inside and outside San Francisco Bay found that over 40% of these whales died of trauma from vessels. And the problem is growing. In 2025 alone, 36 whales entered the bay, sometimes more than 10 at a time." Researchers are calling for urgent action. Dedicated monitoring programs, expanded necropsy capacity, and a serious look at whether speed restrictions or route changes for commercial vessels could reduce the death toll. The evidence from other large whale species suggests that they can make a real difference. As Lane continued, in San Francisco Bay, the biggest threat to these whales is vessel traffic. Continued monitoring will help illuminate their distribution patterns and behaviors while within the bay, which can impact risk. Route changes and speed restrictions have been found to significantly reduce vessel strike mortality to large whales, and an assessment of risk can help identify the most effective strategies to protect these animals. For the scientists behind this study, San Francisco Bay has become something more than a local conservation problem. It's a window, a stark and sobering one, onto a population attempting to adapt to a world that is changing faster than evolution can follow. Josephine Slartaug said this study is our best analysis of the data we collected, but it's important to consider that we do not have the full picture of each whale's movements on a daily timescale. These results are an important piece of the larger puzzle of what is going on in the overall population as they attempt to adapt to climate change in real time. To learn more about this story or other stories on how climate change is impacting migrating patterns for ocean wildlife increasingly impacted by human activity, subscribe to this podcast or head to the Oceanographic Newsroom. This has been the Ocean News Podcast. I've been Rob Hutchins, and thank you for listening.